Hi guys! Welcome back to my channel, Things Tina Does. I'm Tina. Last week we talked about a very quick summer fix fruit cobbler. Today we're going to do that same recipe, but we're going to change it and make it vegan friendly. That's going to include some very minor changes that will take care of that. We're also going to talk about something we can do to make it gluten free if those are your needs in your household. Okay, so what we're going to work with today are fresh nectarines and fresh Bing cherries. Okay, we've got some nectarine here. I'm just going to finish chopping this. Remember guys that when you're making a cobbler, it's a lot more casual than making a pie. You don't have to be quite as exact. So you just want to make sure that your pieces of fruit are about the same size going into your cobbler. Alright, now we've got some fresh cherries. I have a cherry pitter here. If you've never worked with one of these, they're really simple and they're a lot of fun. You want to de-stem your cherry, put your cherry into the pitter. Of course, your package will have directions if you've never used one before, and then you want to work the pitter and get the pit out. You should have a nice little hole through your cherry. That ensures that the pit's out. I'm just going to do a couple more here. When I was a kid, we used to take summer trips up to my grandmother's in Washington State, and she owned a cherry orchard. So every summer we would go up and we would help harvest the cherries, and that of course included running through the cherry orchard pell-mell like we were on fire, grass stains, climbing trees like little monkeys, and eating the cherries right off the trees. Wonderful. I've got some right here that I've already pitted. We're going to add those to our nectarines, just like that. Okay. Give those a little toss. Remember last week we talked about tasting your fruit. If your fruit is not really nice and bright on the palate, you might want to add a little citrus. We're going to add some lemon juice to our fruit today to kind of brighten that up. And of course we don't want any seeds to get in there, so I'm being careful to watch for those. Okay, now that's ready to go. We're going to use Grandma's old cast iron pan. If you have one of these laying around and you've never used it before, this is a great time to pull it out and give it a try. Remember guys, you don't even have to grease your pan. That's a wonderful little thing, isn't it? Into the cast iron pan goes the fruit. We're going to spread that out a little bit. Okay, just like that, nice and even. All right, we're going to set that right over here and we're going to make our vegan-friendly crust. Okay, so remember that the original recipe calls for butter. We're not using butter today, of course, because we're vegan-friendly. So we're going to use a half of a cup of oil. So we want to measure that right into our liquid measurer. Remember guys, when you're measuring liquid ingredients, get down on eye level with that so that you can tell, because you can be sometimes even a quarter cup off if you're trying to eyeball that from way up here. Okay, so into our bowl goes the oil. And guys, you can use olive oil. This is grapeseed oil that I'm using today. You can use coconut oil. You're just going to melt that a little bit. You can even use good old-fashioned vegetable oil, like Grandma used in a lot of her chicken frying in that cast iron skillet. Remember also that your oil is not salted, so we are going to add that 1 teaspoon of salt. Okay? Stir that in very quickly, just like that. Very quickly. Then, into that goes our 1 cup of sugar. Very quickly, going to stir that in. This is one of my all-time favorite recipes from my grandmother. It's so easy, it's so versatile, it's so quick, and I don't know about you, but when I have company coming over, my head is usually involved in visiting, and I'm not really wanting to pay attention to some very involved recipe where I have to use a lot of technique and a lot of time. And that's one of the things that I love about this recipe, is I don't have to do either. It just stirs in together. Now remember that I said if you need your foods to be gluten-free, if you suffer with celiac disease, I know I have a couple of family members that suffer with that, then what you can do is, instead of using flour, get the gluten-free oats. And that would be the time to add those. Instead of adding the flour, you're going to add those gluten-free oats. You're just going to stir that together just like this. Again, it's going to make that dough just like we saw last week. When it comes all together just like that, your crust is done. We're going to move this fruit right back over in front of us. And in to the pan goes the crumbly crust. All right. You know what, guys? If you have little kids at home and they have little anxious fingers, this is a wonderful thing to do. Getting them involved with something that they can see how it works and what the end result is. I think it makes your kids appreciate what they put in their mouths a little bit more when they've actually put their hands into making it. So much fun. We want to make sure that we get all that good crust out of there. You'll be glad later that you did that. Okay, now that is all ready. This is going to go into a preheated 375-degree oven. We're going to bake this a little bit hotter than we did the original cobbler recipe with the butter because we want this crust to come out nice and crispy. Okay, so that's going to go in. And by the magic of things Tina does, oh, look at that. We have one. You know what? I made that ahead of time. But anyway, this is what your end result is going to look like right here, okay? Now, all we have to do to finish this off is take a nice scoop. Again, while you're entertaining your company, you're just going to scoop this right out into your waiting bowls and ready for those mouths that are watering, just like this. And the most simple accompaniment to this is just one scoop of vanilla ice cream, just like that. And who wouldn't want a bowl of that on a hot summer's day?